Ukraine. Olena, streaming live from Kyiv City Center. I can see 4 people are watching me. Thank you for this. Could you please let me know if you hear me well? Colleen, as always, here. Thank you, Colleen, for your support. What time is it over there, where you are? Can you hear me well? Guys, let me know, do you hear me or no? Family. Hi, Lena. Guys, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you hear me? Can hear good. Thank you, Vegan. Thank you so much. So welcome to Kiev, guys. A little bit windy, but you see, I'm professional today. I put here the microphone, so it should be more or less okay. We'll see. 5 a.m. in Illinois, USA. Nan, why are you're not sleeping at all? Steven, 5 a.m. My God, guys, you didn't go to sleep or you woke up so early? Well, thank you very much for watching this in this hour. I know the time is not the best one for the live streams, but you see, I'm kind of dependent on 3 little children that I have. And today they stay with my babysitter. I left them at home with my babysitter, and I arrived to the city center. Yeah, I know 1 p.m. It is right now, it is 1 p.m. in Kiev. So this is the afternoon time. Today is the 26th of August. This is one of the last really sunny and hot days in Kiev, in Ukraine. And here we are in the Kyiv City Center. I will be streaming for you guys from the main street of Kyiv, which is called Hreschyatyk Street. 1 p.m. the 26th of August. 2 days ago, we have celebrated the Independence Day of Ukraine. Ukraine turned as an independent new state. It turned 31 years old, but our history is much older than this. For example, Kyiv, this is how you pronounce it correctly, is more than 1,500 years old. So maybe you can count the history of our statehood from the foundation of Kyiv. So 1,500. Let me show you this. So over there is the main street, Hreschyatyk, and this place is called Bessarabska Square. There is the Bessarabsky market. It is more than 100 years old building. 100 years ago, Kyiv began here. So it was much, much smaller. But now this is the very city center. So to get over there, I have to go down. I will have to go through the shopping mall with you. You will see a little bit of busy life in Kyiv, and you will see that everything basically works, okay? Everything. When you walk through the places like this, nothing gives you an idea that basically the war goes on. Quite bloody, horrible and ugly. Almost the whole business came back to work. And it's very important because this is how we fight for our independence and resistance on the economical level. So all these people who decided to stay in Ukraine and keep working, keep polishing the nails, this is how they support Ukraine. These 2 colors became super popular all over the world and in Ukraine too. The colors of our national flag, and you can see that the national flag is on my shoulders. Today I bought this for $3. I think it's beautiful. I wanted to have this. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We go upstairs and we are back to Khreshchatyk Street. It's old people, young people, children, many people stayed. So here we still have the busy road, which is open for the cars, for vehicles. But over there, the road will be blocked, and there we will see the exhibition of the machinery of the basically Russian ruined machinery. Yes, patriotic colors at all over the places. You see here. Here it is. Okay, guys, I can see that 51 people is watching me right now. Could you please press the like button so maybe the others will see this live stream and will be interested in it and watch it too. Now, recently when I started to make more videos about Russian war crimes in Ukraine and so on, YouTube started like blocking me, putting my videos down, blocking monetization, blocking comments in some of the videos. So now I am asking you for help, to put it a little up. Could you please press the like button? It really means a lot for my channel. And as always, thank you very much for those of you who support me on Patreon, who support me on PayPal and so on. The links for this are in the description of this video. Thank you so much. Well, here we go. The first Russian tank that I can see is this one. Yeah, so most probably they are already removing these Russian tanks from the Kyiv city center. They were placed here last weekend, like about just a few days before the Independence Day. These Russian destroyed tanks were put here on Khreshchatyk. And this was done, for the so-called parade on the Independence Day. You see, when Russians invaded Ukraine, when they started moving towards Kiev, they were pretty sure that they will take it in just 2, maybe 3 days. The Russian, how called paratroopers, or how those who descended in Hostomel, next to Hostomel airport, just next to Kiev, they called to the parliament of Ukraine and ordered tables in the parliament. They called to the buffer and said, "We will come soon, so leave us some champagne over there." The next day, the restaurant of the parliament called back and asked, "So Russians, are you coming or not? What's wrong?" So basically it turned out that Russians couldn't move here. But they were so sure that they will be celebrating, that will take here very, very quickly, that they even had the parade uniform in their backpacks, in their, let's say, luggage. So they dreamed about a parade on Khreshchatyk Street. They were sure that these Russian tanks will parade on Khreshchatyk. And here you are. This is the parade that you deserved. This is the parade that you deserved. So we can see here written in Ukrainian language, just with the crayon, it's written for guided for Mariupol, for Chaplina that was bombed on the 24th of August, and 25 people died on the civilian train station. Civilian train was burned. For Volnovakha in Donetsk region. Konotopsky відьми в ділі, which means something had happened to my interview. This means ЗСУ, and the heart ЗСУ means Збройні сили України, Armed Forces of Ukraine, I love you. So we can see that the machinery is being removed right now. They stayed here for a couple of days and basically raised up the spirit of Ukrainians a lot. Because this is the parade that you guys, Russians, deserved. You wanted to parade in the Kyiv city center on Khreshchatyk Street. Here you go. Here is the parade that you deserved. There will be no other Russian parade than this one. Well, like the other Ukrainians, I share the same feeling, which is quite controversial. From one side, it fills me with pride that basically we are celebrating the Independence Day in such a way we celebrated it. It fills me with pride that Ukraine resisted, even though we were promised, we were sad that you will fall, guys, in just 2 days. The West didn't believe in us much. I was told to Olena, go away from Kiev, save yourself, save your soul, save your children. But it's my personal victory, and it's already the big victory of Ukraine, that only this kind of Russian tanks and other vehicles are parading in Khreshchatyk Street. Here is the building of the Kyiv City administration, this one. Here you have a poster that says Azovstal free, free Mariupol defenders. So from one side, I feel happy that this kind of vehicles are parading. But on the other hand, this makes me feel really, really bad because I wish this didn't happen. I wish this war didn't happen like at all. I wish we had the same parade like last year. Last year here, these were Ukrainian beautiful defenders parading, Ukrainian vehicles parading. The biggest airplane in the world called Mriya, the Dream, was flying in the sky together with other airplanes, Ukrainian airplanes. There was a lot of music here. People were very cheerful. It was just, a holiday, a big celebration with songs and dancing. But this year, it's very different. Mriya, the biggest airplane in the world, was burned by Russians in the first days of Russian attack. I hope it will be reconstructed, maybe one day. And these ugly machines of war, killing machines, moved towards Kiev. This fills my heart with pain. Because, the reason why all these machines stopped is bravery and sacrifice of Ukrainian defenders. This is why the burnt machines are standing on Khreshchatyk Street and they are not driving with the Russians on top. Okay, I'm trying to cover the microphone so you can hear me better. I believe the wind is spoiling the sound a little. Sorry for this. Well, in fact, you see, Ukraine was never very much militarized. We never really expected that our neighbor will really attack us. It was really like in this way. Let me explain you what I'd like to say. That we never expected this much of aggression and this much of bombing and this much of attacks on civilian population. But this basically happened. Before the independence days of Ukraine, they were more like celebrations, not like the show of your military force. And there were some of the years when Ukrainians even refused to have military parades in the city center, because we thought it's not needed. It's better to put this money into education, into culture, but not to spend it on military parades. These are the mistakes that we are paying for right now. Now we see that the army is super important, super important. And I think that the next parade next year in Kiev, it will be the huge demonstration of force of the Ukrainian army that defends Ukraine, together with the international partners that help us to stand. And it will be the great parade on Khreshchatyk Street in the Kyiv City Center, with demonstration of all these beautiful machines that helped Ukraine to stand and helped Ukraine to win in this war and helped Ukraine to defeat Russia. So I'm looking forward. My dream is basically to survive till this day and see this with my own eyes. This parade. Wow, look, they are lifting up such a heavy tank. Wow, not an easy work. You know, I'd love these tanks now to be put in different European cities, even in American cities, Canadian, British, you know, for people of your countries to see the real face of Russia. As a reminder that if you do not stop Russia, these tanks will move to your cities too, or other kind of Russian weapons. You know, Putin himself, he was saying that the borders of Russia never end, they are endless. So he even said that many times, those propaganda people in Russia, they were saying that they are fighting not really with Ukraine, but their main enemy is America, with NATO. For some reason, they are doing this on Ukrainian land right now, and they're killing Ukrainian people. But their main enemy is the West and America. So they dream to parade somewhere else, not only in Ukraine. But of course, the world is united, and we will not give it to them. We will not give it to them. I think it was such a brilliant idea to put all of this machinery on Khreshchatyk Street, you know, as a super cool symbol for Ukrainians to see how strong we are, and to see that we will win, that all of this death of Ukrainian defenders is not in vain, that we are winning and that we will win. And this is the trolling of Russia on the very high level, right? There was a funny video, by the way, in Odessa on the ruined Russian tank. A cat just went to the toilet just on the top of the tank. This was a super popular video in Ukraine. What's inside? People are filming on their mobile phone. Well, now guys, let me tell you why I am so late to come here and show you this so-called Russian parade on Khreshchatyk Street. And why only today? My 6-year-old son, Taras, today when I left him and the other 2 kids with the babysitter, he told me, "Mama, don't forget that you are our mother, not only a YouTuber." So this is the reason why I came here only today because I am a mother of 3 children, first of all, and only afterwards I am a YouTuber. My babysitter was on vacations the last week. She went to the countryside, and there was no one else with whom I could leave my kids. Oh, so windy now. So I stayed with them, and I had basically 2 options. The option number 1 is not to attend the parade, this exhibition, and the option number 2 was to take children here. And basically I physically could do this, you know. I arrived here by subway, metro is working, but first of all I did not want my children to see this reality. I didn't want them to see these, you know, metal machines of killing, because their imagination, especially of Katya, is very bright. And I don't want these machines to be part of their reality, of their fantasies. I think this would add more nightmares. They are already sleeping not very well. Yeah, but when after they see this, I think they will be even more afraid than now. You see, my kids are already quite traumatized. You see, 6 months. For these 6 months, we've stayed here in Kiev. We never left. When these machines were moving towards Kiev, we were staying in the basement of a building in Kiev, in the north of Kiev, and we heard very well how Russians were fighting, how they were shooting all these missiles, rockets, everything. We've heard it very well, but luckily we haven't seen it with our own eyes, all these destructions. So in my district, you know, buildings around my home were not ruined and were not damaged. Even though these machines stopped just 10 minutes away from my home in Bucha, where Russians committed terrible crimes. But thanks to our army, thanks to our territorial defense, which my husband have joined, they did not move inside of Kiev. You see, my neighborhood, Obolony, was the next after Bucha. This is like the next street, the next neighborhood. And now when military experts, when representatives of the office of the president are giving interviews, they are saying that, honestly speaking, we were sure that Obolony will be captured too. And only thanks to bravery of our defenders, it didn't happen. And Kiev was not captured by Russian tanks. Yeah, so this is why I am showing you these machines so late, on the 26th of August only, not on the 24th. Another reason, I am still trying to be wise and careful and think about safety of my children and myself. My 8-year-old daughter Katya, she was keeps saying me all the time, like, "Mommy, we will not survive without you, so please take care about yourself for us." And I promised her to take care about myself. So not to risk too much. So for this reason, I didn't attend the place on the 24th of August with my children or without, even if I could, because we were warned many times that there will be a lot of, there is a very high risk of massive rocket launch on Kiev, and Russians threatened that they will attack Kyiv city center and like the centers of decision. And they basically asked, our authorities asked Ukrainian people, please avoid crowded places. Please don't make it easier for Russians to kill you, because each of you is a center of decisions. So as a center of my family decisions, I spent the whole day of the 24th of August at home. The whole day it was the air raid siren on. So we were trying to stay between the two walls at home to be super protected as much as possible. And we didn't attend this place on the 24th of August. Okay, so here we are. I like the way how people write the names of the cities that we are fighting for with the help of chalk or with a marker here. Bakhmut, the city in the east of Ukraine. The trident, the symbol of Ukraine, official symbol. And I have it here too. I have it here too, yes. This symbol was the official symbol of Kiev and Rus, more than 1,000 years ago, at least. But it's even older. Basically, I think I already walked through the whole of Khreshchatyk Street and showed you what is left here on Khreshchatyk Street. I see that today these machines will be removed, so I was just in time, just the last minutes to come here and to show you this exhibition. But I'm sure you've seen it before, yes, on different news channels as far as I know. Yesterday I gave interviews to BBC and CNN and they showed it. As well, they showed the first steps of Darina that she made on the 24th of August, just on the Independence Day, when we were live on BBC 5 radio. And then Anderson Cooper showed it on CNN. How she was walking for the first time. So here we are. This is Khreshchatyk Street. Now, in the second part of this live stream, I'm for the 27 minutes live. So I have another 30 minutes of time to stay here with you before I need to go back to my children. And I will be showing you these beautiful Ukrainian young and not young people. Here, I want to tell you a few words about Khreshchatyk. So you have mentioned probably that I walked through all of Khreshchatyk Street pretty fast. In fact, this is the main street of Kiev, of the capital of Ukraine, and this is officially the shortest main street of the capital in the world. Well, not many people abroad know this. Not that we are very proud of it, but this is something that the tour guides are telling to the tourists, like, pay attention, the street is very short and very wide. Now, and it starts over there on Bessarabska Square that I showed to you, and it ends over there on the European Square. And what we see right between with this monument here, yes, this is the Independent Square, Майдан Незалежності, Independent Square. So Khreshchatyk, why is it so wide? It's a very interesting story because it became this wide only after Second World War, the World War II. You can pay attention as well how Soviet is the architecture on the main street of Kiev. It's obviously very Soviet. This style, it's called Stalin Empire style. The thing is, this Khreshchatyk, even though the street is very old, this building, this Khreshchatyk, was built after the Second World War. Before, the street was much more narrow. So basically what happened? In 1941, when Nazi Germany approached Kiev. By the way, just briefly to remind you that for the Soviet Union, the Second World War never started. It was called the Great Patriotic War, and it started only in 1941 because before, in 1939 and 1940, Stalin was cooperating with Hitler. Basically, Stalin divided with Hitler Poland, Stalin attacked Finland, took part of it. Stalin attacked Romania, took Bessarabia for himself, the region where I was born, by the way. And in 1939 and 40, Stalin sponsored Hitler and helped him a lot, basically, to capture the territories. But for some reason, Russians do not call Stalin a Nazi person and do not confess that basically they signed Molotov-Ribbentrop agreement about this kind of cooperation. And like in 1941, in June, suddenly something went wrong and Hitler attacked the Soviet Union. And only after this, Stalin became like a super pooper, fighter against Nazism and fascism. Nevertheless, in September in 1941, Hitler was already, like Hitler's troops, Hitler himself never visited Kiev, but his troops were already taking Kiev. The Soviets, understanding that they have to retreat, they did not inform the population. Till the last day they were saying everything is okay, but they did retreat. They retreated. But before this, they put explosives into the beautiful buildings of the main street, Khreshchatyk, into the National Opera, into the hotels. So in the most remarkable, into the beautiful buildings in the city center, they put explosives. And when Soviets retreated and Germans and Nazi moved into the city, they arranged a massive explosion, bombing. So they blew up almost the whole of the city center. And the 19th century buildings were ruined on Khreshchatyk Street. It was burning. There was no way how to extinguish the fire. This is why the city center of Kiev in 1941 basically was ruined and burned. When later, in 1943, 2 years after Soviets took back Kiev, then after the Second World War, Kiev was rebuilt. And the new buildings, well, they looked like this. In the very Soviet style, the main street was made very wide. Why? For huge military parades. Yeah, because the Soviet Union was a huge military street, the huge military empire. And they always, in the new cities, they always were building very wide streets, very big main squares, for soldiers to march and say glory to the Soviet Union. This is why we have this kind of Khreshchatyk Street. 1941 is not the first time when Soviets basically ruined Kiev a lot. Here I do not blame anyone, it's part of the history, I just want you to know. Was basically before, and this was 1918. Maybe some of you do believe that Ukraine became the part of the Soviet Union because Ukrainians loved communism this much and they wanted to be a part of this, big family, which was the Russian propaganda, but it's not like this. In 1917, 1923, there was the war here, and Ukrainians were trying to be independent. In 1918, in January, Ukraine did declare independence of the Ukrainian People's Republic. Now, this was one of the few Ukrainian, attempts to declare an independent state during the First World War and when the war was here for the territory of Ukraine. So, in January, it was declared the independence of Ukrainian People's Republic. The president was the Ukrainian historian Mikhailo Hrushevsky. The monument to him is standing in the city center. We have his portrait on one of the banknotes on the Ukrainian money. We know him, respect him well. And later in February, what happened here is the attack of Bolsheviks on Kiev. And how this happened? There were thousands of Bolsheviks, Russian troops, who were moving towards Kiev, shelling Kiev. Almost all of the historian important buildings were ruined by Russian artillery. Almost all the churches were damaged. So this was the massive, massive attack on Kiev. And Ukrainian defenders, they basically failed. Ukrainian government had to move west, to the west, and Kiev surrendered. Yeah, Bolsheviks took Kiev in February 1918, and what they did after this is known as Red Terror. And the leader, the commander of Bolshevik Russian forces, Muravyov, he said to the Russian soldiers, "Kiev is yours. Kill everyone. Take everything that you see." Death to Ukrainians was written on the tanks. By the way, recently the special representative of Russia in Vienna posted on Twitter, "No mercy to Ukrainian population." This is not something new for us in Ukraine. We've heard it before. Yeah, 100 years ago in 1918 in particular, the same Russians were saying that no mercy to Ukrainian people. Thousands of people were killed. Russian Bolsheviks just, stepped in any apartments, any buildings, robbed, raped, killed, and tortured. So when you say that this current attack is something new, that this is only one-man war, Putin's war, then why did it happen before? The same style, destroying, capturing, raping and stealing. This is the Russian style, guys. And my Russophobia is not enough. It's not enough because I still feel pity for these Russian human beings that were liquidated by Ukrainian defenders on the Ukrainian soil. It's interesting that when my husband went to the territorial defense, and when he was given just a gun with which he never shot before, he made a post on Facebook. He does it very, very, very seldom, a few times in his lifetime. He photographed his shadow with the weapon, and he said that there will be no mercy. It is them who came here, not us who went there. You know why he wrote it? I think because he was feeling pity about Russians. This is why he wrote this, because we are still very human in Ukraine. We still feel pity for these Russians who are, coming here to kill us. We would prefer them to just go away and never come back. But this time, there will be no way back, because this time we are much stronger. You can call it even aggressive, because this time we will fight. we will not, talk, because it doesn't make any sense. We tried it many times before and it didn't help. So this time, the only way how to bring peace to Ukraine once and forever, this will be the victory of Ukraine on the battlefield. And this is what we need. This is what we are standing for. 80 people is watching me. Thank you for this. Please press the like button. I hope you like what you see. And now I bring you to the Independence Square. This is Майдан Незалежності. The Square of Independence, or Independence Square, or simply Майдан. Let me show you. Yeah, so you are seeing this is the last glimpse on this Russian machinery that was placed on Khreshchatyk in the city center. After this, I do believe they will unblock Khreshchatyk, and this will be again the street for vehicles to move around. And by the way, before the war and before COVID, the Hristiatic was blocked traditionally on weekends, Saturday and Sunday. It was blocked for vehicles, and it was open for pedestrians. And it was always a place for, for different concerts, for music, for street musicians, for people entertaining themselves here. Here you go. The monument, which is very much well known. When you look at this, nothing reminds you about the war. Yes. Here, what is said, I love Ukraine. Guys, I love Ukraine. Many people like me, like my husband, after Russia attacked, we suddenly discovered that basically we love Ukraine so much that we are even ready to give our lives for this, everything for this. This is how much we love Ukraine. This is how much we love freedom. This is how much we do not want to be slaves. We want to be part of the democratic, free world, but to be the part of it, we need to defend this world. This Russian attack reminded us is that freedom, democracy is something that we have to fight for. It's not given for free. Freedom is not given for free. You have to defend it. You have to fight for this. And we want to give freedom as heritage to our children. I don't want my children to become soldiers when they grow up. I want them just to get a good education, to enjoy theater and art, to travel around the globe, but not to fight with Russians who are coming and coming and coming. These greedy Russians just keep coming. Look at all these beautiful people. I mean, Ukraine is beautiful. Ukraine is peaceful. Ukraine is cheerful. This is what needs to be in Ukraine. Love and life, not war. And while we are enjoying this beautiful, ability to take selfies in Kyiv City Center, we remember very well that over there on the front line, there are Ukrainian soldiers who are fighting for our independence, for our freedom. Look on this. These flowers, by the way, were planted in spring. The bees and butterflies, so nice. You look at these butterflies, do you see them? The flowers were planted where Russian tanks were moving towards Kiev. Our services kept removing rubbish, kept planting trees and flowers. No matter what, life needs to continue. Pigeons. Hello. I'm sorry. No. Okay, let me teach you. This is a gentleman who wants me to take a photograph with a pigeon, but I don't want it, and I say no, but he did it. So if you are in the situation like this, say no, I don't want, take it please, no. I will not even pay for this either, because sorry, I don't want. Okay, no, you do this. And if they take a picture of you and say, give me $10 now, you say no. If they keep insisting, you say, I will call the police. These were instructions for foreign tourists before the war. I hope tourists will come back after the war. I'm sure they will. So now you have these instructions for the future. People like this, Ukraine is not perfect. People like this will remain here. Ukraine is not perfect. Any nation is not perfect. Any. Yeah, but we never said we're perfect, right? Yeah, brief interruption. Now we come closer here. These are Ukrainian flags. that are put in the name of defenders who were killed by Russians. Here we have flowers. Here we have their names and the dates when they were born and when they perished for the sake of our independence and our freedom. Ukrainians are paying for this freedom. We are paying for this freedom with our lives, with our blood, with our bodies. There are a few messages here. What is this? We must have thousands of fighters to win this war. So we are recruiting for all ages, genders, and skill levels. So this is Ryan from USA. His email, his WhatsApp, Telegram, Viber, Ryan Root Camp. And over there it's written that many foreigners are killed by Putin. How many people are killed by Putin? Recently, our commander-in-chief said about 9,000 people, 9,000 soldiers. Regarding the Russian numbers, they say that more than 46,000 Russians were liquidated in Ukraine after they stepped on Ukrainian land. Thousands of Ukrainian civilians were killed. To be more exact, 377 children were killed, innocent children. More than 700 children were injured. Many of them lost their limbs in particular. Well, what I want to tell you is that, okay, none of my relatives, luckily, was killed in this war. Militaries or not militaries, civilian or militaries, but there were two people whom I know personally who were killed by Russians in this war. One of them was, we studied together in the Institute of Journalism. This guy of my age, he worked as a journalist, by the way, with my husband, with Sergei, on the same TV channel. And after the war started, he joined the army. So recently, we found out that he was killed. So I will put this flag for him. Whew. The other flag is for the other guy, again of my age. We worked together with him for the company which is called Chernobyl Tour, the company that was showing Chernobyl zone to the tourists. The guy was working in the informational center, like in a souvenir kiosk at the Tyatky checkpoint, the place through which we entered the Chernobyl zone, basically where the tour began. Very helpful, very cheerful, very kind man. Again, after, and very young, of my age. Again, when the war started, he joined the army, and recently he was killed. So I'm putting the flag for him to. I will put his name on the flag. His name is Max. I found this a pen here, look, so I can write. I don't know if you see this. Well, Max. You know what I want to tell you is that these two men, whom I know personally, who became the soldiers, who joined the army, you know, if the war did not happen, they would never become the soldiers. They were not, you know, aggressive like at all. You know, these two guys, they were like really kind. Really kind. They avoided conflict. They didn't want conflict. You know, not aggressive guys. This type that will like better agree with you than discuss, like quarrel with you. The thing is that the best of us, the best of Ukrainians, the best of us are dying in this war, are being killed in this war. And you know, when I'm telling the numbers, like how many, like when I say civilians attacked and military or soldiers attacked, killed, you know, like you are supposed to feel pity, more pity for civilians because they are like unarmed, and like less pity for the militaries because they are armed, they took guns, they like can defend themselves, they are supposed, you know, to kill, to fight, yes, to do this too. So this is like kind of more fair that they are killed than when civilians are killed. You understand what I'm talking about? But you see, these men, they joined the army only because Russians attacked Ukraine. So they are innocent victims of this war too. This is what the message that I want to share with you. All people, Ukrainians who are killed in Ukraine, they are victims, innocent victims of this war. Because it is not us who stepped on the foreign land. It is not us who tried, you know, to take a part of the other country, to steal it, to kill our neighbors, to rape their children, to injure their children, even to scare their children. It is not what we Ukrainians were doing. This is them, Russians, who attacked Ukraine. And this should be on the top of everything. On the top. You know, and that like just, you know, came to my mind. I'd like to ask, what's wrong with the Pope? With the head of Vatican? What's wrong with the Pope? Why none of the victims of the war, none of the Ukrainian victims of the war was not named, called by name by the Pope? He said that the citizen of Russia killed on the territory of Russia, not by Ukraine, who was, you know, all the time on TV encouraging Russians to kill more Ukrainians, who visited occupied Mariupol, who was, you know, saying and asking to kill Ukrainian people. And she died because of explosion in her car, which nobody really knows who did it. Ukraine says we have no, you know, connection with this because it's not something that we needed. You know, we want to liquidate Russians on Ukrainian territories, for them to go away. But for some reason, the Pope called her name, pronounced her name, and called her the victim, innocent victim of this war. Guys, the true innocent victims of this war, their names are here, but none of them are called. He didn't name the victims who were killed by Russians in Bucha, in Irpin, in Hostomel, in Borodyanka, in Mariupol. in Kharkiv, in Mykolaiv, in Vinnytsia, and everywhere else. And one more thing, we have 5 minutes left for this stream. One more thing. One more thing. To stop this, we need to win. To stop this war and bring peace back to Ukraine, there is only one way we can do this. It's obvious that there is no trust in Russia. Russia behaves as a terrorist. It's a terrorist state. And finally, it needs to be recognized as a terrorist state. And to bring peace here, we need to win. On the 24th of August, I was asked about different conclusions of this war, conclusions of these 6 months of resistance. What do I think? Well, what do I think? The progress is obvious, yes. If on the 24th of February, like Fox News, BBC, CNN, on these first days were asking me, telling me, do you know that they were telling us that Ukraine will fall in 2 days? Right now, nobody is telling this anymore. We celebrated the Independence Day in Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, and thanks to the bravery of our people, Ukraine, Kiev didn't fall. So now we do not have this pessimistic forecast anymore. In the beginning of the war, the top media were saying Ukrainian crisis, Ukrainian conflict, even though there was no crisis on conflict before Russia attacked. And it was clear Russian war against Ukraine with the obvious target to eliminate Ukraine, to steal its territory, and to destroy Ukrainians as a nation. And Putin clearly said it. But the West was very, very shy, not very decisive to accept it, confess it, to call a spade, that this is the war that Putin started. Ukraine, even before this attack, was asking for weapons to help us to protect ourselves, because we are the gates of Europe, the gates of the West. So for these gates to stand, we need the help, obviously. Ukraine is a much smaller country than Russia, and we do not have this much of oil. Yes, we do not have this much of military resources, and we were not preparing to attack another country. So obviously we needed help. The help in the beginning was very modest because nobody believed in us. But when only with javelins we protected Kiev, when men like my husband with only a gun firing for the first time without even the armored vest or helmet or anything, aid kit, without nothing, and the professional militaries, first of all, when after they protected Kiev and other cities like Sumy, Chernihiv and Kharkiv, after this the world believed in us. And on the Independence Day we've heard so much of congratulations, so much of compliments regarding our courage, about our bravery. It was so nice to hear. Boris Johnson even attended Kiev. He had been walking here with Zelensky 2 days ago, which is so cool. So many demonstrations around the world. Even the Secretary of NATO said, you can count on us, Ukraine. And it's big progress, in these months, in these 6 months. However, I'm still asking that not everything is done for this war to come to an end. It's still not enough, for God's sake. As long as the war continues, it will be still not enough. As long as our Ukrainian people are dying, as long as Russia keeps attacking us, it's still not enough, you see. It's still not enough. It's good that you do not call it, the crisis anymore, Ukrainian crisis, Ukrainian war, but it's Russian war against Ukraine. but you have to confess and recognize Russia as a terrorist state. It's clear. Oh my God, I can see so many people coming here and crying. So Russia is a terrorist state. Doing business as usual is not possible anymore with the terrorist state. Doing business with Putin is not possible. Doing diplomacy with Putin is not possible anymore. And here we all share responsibility, because the West, the international community, had been, negotiating with Putin these last 20 years. So it's not only Russian people who raised the monster. This is the West who participated, who was buying and who keeps buying natural gas, for example, from Russia, who was shaking hands with Putin. Even after 8 years ago, Putin attacked Ukraine already, took the east of Ukraine, occupied Crimean Peninsula. He didn't receive a strong enough response, and this is why he moved deeper into Ukraine. So we have to understand, if he does not receive the strong enough response right now again, he will move further afterwards. What he needs most of all right now, this Putin, is surprisingly peace. Right now, Putin wants peace negotiations. You know why? Because they cannot attack more. They cannot take more territories of Ukraine. So their aim right now is to stop Ukrainian counterattack and to legalize the territories that are already occupied by Russia. They need time to build some fortifications, some defending structures on these occupied territories, and do what? Prepare for the new attack on Ukraine. They will try it again and again to take Kiev. Listen, all their media is only about Ukraine and Kiev, as if nothing else is happening in Russia, in this huge 144 million people country. Nobody cares that in their villages there is no toilets and water. Everybody cares what's happening in Ukraine, and they all want to kind of liberate Ukraine. This will not change as long as Putin is in power. His propaganda machine keeps working, and they are as war criminals as Putin is. So it's obvious that Putin will not stop. Yeah, he needs peace just to prepare for the new attack. And guess what? If let's imagine he takes Kiev, he said it many times before that he will not stop here. They want Baltic states, they want Finland, they want Warsaw. Putin said borders of Russia never ends nowhere. So we are living really in the very important historical moment. And it depends on each of us, in what kind of the world our children will be living in. Will this be a free and democratic world? Or this will be the world where a strong tyrant can attack no matter what country, dictatorship, and such a nice baby. I think it should be a baby girl. Darina was like this. Recently, Darina was as small as this. I want this baby, I want my baby to live in the free world where there is no more war. So many foreigners were asking me, what can I do? What do you think, Olena? What can I do to help Ukraine? Honestly, guys, I don't know. It depends on you. Only you know what you can do. Yeah, there is a Union Jack here. You're right. British citizens are fighting in the Ukrainian army too. There is the whole uh, foreign unit fighting for Ukraine. So this is an option too, physically to come to Ukraine and physically participate in the army. So this is one of the options, to fight in the army. This is what my husband basically did. He joined the army as a Ukrainian citizen, but the foreign citizens can do the same. You really can come and fight for Ukraine. And basically to put your life for Ukraine if you're ready for this. But I do not ask you about this. I do not encourage you to do so. I'm just saying that this is one of the options. And quite many people used this option. And they are fighting with Ukrainians hand in hand for the freedom of Ukraine and for the freedom of the world. But it is up to you to decide what you can personally do. Maybe, we say if you're not shooting, you can give like patrons, you can help to shoot. So you can donate to the army of Ukraine to help the army win. This is another option. In the link to this video, there is the description of this video, there is a link to the Prituла Foundation. They are collecting funds and they use it very carefully and very effectively for defense of Ukraine. Recently, they collected millions of dollars to buy Bayraktars, but instead Bayraktars were given as a gift by Turkish company because they were impressed by Ukrainian spirit. And Prituла bought a space satellite, which is really cool. So you can donate some money, even a coin matters, to the army of Ukraine. You can put something like, a ribbon on your hand, a ribbon on your neck with the Ukrainian colors, a Ukrainian flag on your window or whatever. Participate in the different demonstrations if you are abroad. This helps a lot too. Because obviously, yes, Ukraine needs to win. To win, we need the arms. If you do not have a couple of javelins or HIMARS at home and you cannot give it, and you do not have enough of money to buy a HIMARS or to produce it, yes, or maybe you are in difficult financial situation, anyway, what you can do, yes, you can put pressure on your government because this is your government who can give the arms to Ukraine. Arm Ukraine now. This is one of the main and permanent mottos that I keep repeating. Arm Ukraine now, stop Russia, and Russia is a terrorist state. So put pressure on your government. Do let your, friends, neighbors, and your politicians know that you personally care about Ukraine. And I know that you care about Ukraine because this is why you're watching this video. If you didn't care, you wouldn't watch this boring woman talking, something to you. The fact that you're watching this video means that you care about Ukraine. And this already means a lot. Now let the others know that you care about Ukraine. Maybe, some people say that in these 6 months, people are tired because of the war in Ukraine. The events in Ukraine are not in the news anymore, in the top news every day. I say it's normal, it's natural. It's fine. You cannot have, only Ukrainian news, even though this is, I think, the most important thing that's happening on the planet, not only because I'm Ukrainian, but because, the destiny of the world is being decided right now on the battlefield in Ukraine, in Kherson, in Mariupol, in Crimea, on Donbass. So this is super important. But it's normal that it's not in the news every day because the news need headlines like this. But Nevertheless, I am sure that Ukraine is still in the minds of people. Ukraine is still one of the top priorities of the politicians who are our best friends. Now, and the visit of Boris Johnson proved it, and the generous gift of American president who declared about $3 billion, package of help for Ukraine. This means a lot. This means that we are moving in the right direction towards victory of Ukraine. So the world is not tired of Ukraine and will not be and will not forget Ukraine, even if it's not in the news every day anymore. Well, I'm moving back on Khreshchatyk. This is, by the way, Khreshchatyk subway station here. You see the main entrance is blocked with the sandbags. The metro station is one of the places where people can hide in case of the air attack. The main train stations, metro stations like Khreshchatyk and Maidan, Independence Square are closed right now, but only these two metro stations are closed. All the others are opened. To the left is McDonald's. It's not working. I missed McDonald's. It is not working because of the war, but they promised to reopen soon. And I guess even somewhere it is already opened. So when McDonald's declared that it reopens, this became the sign for us that the normal life comes back to Ukraine. Guys, sorry, I love McDonald's. But you see, for us, McDonald's is not something that you can go every day just to eat. For us, this is really like a restaurant. This is fun to take your kids to McDonald's. And I will tell you something for which maybe you will hate me, but I think that McDonald's in Ukraine are the best in the world because they are really like restaurants. It's really comfortable, clean, always tasty, because I tried McDonald's in the United Kingdom, for example. It was very different. It was worse. But in Kiev, you will find the best McDonald's in the world, even better than in America. Well, I haven't been to America, but I'd love to. And I'd love to try McDonald's in America to compare it with our Ukrainian Kiev McDonald's. Okay. Sorry. There you have beautiful machines that spray the water on Khreshchatyk because it's really hot now. So you can refresh yourself under these machines. And to the right, the reminder that the war still goes on. Guys, I think at this point, I will tell you goodbye. It's nice that you had some conversation in the chat. I'm sorry that I was not answering much of your questions. Honestly, I haven't read much and haven't seen much. One of the reasons is the very bright sun. So when I look at the screen, I do not see very well what you're writing. I can only, like, some parts, I can see this. Well, anyway, thank you many times for those of you who wrote something supportive, kind words, everything. And fuck you to the trolls. And I hope you had some nice discussions and conversations between yourself while you have been watching me. Okay, more walking streams. This is what I read. Accepted. Okay, accepted. I will try to do more in the future. Maybe you will let me know what kind of locations you'd like to see. and I will make it for you. Okay, like this. Okay. So we are approaching the last machine over there with the grass on the top. The end of exhibition. We've seen it one way and the other way around. Now I'm coming back to the subway station. I rush back to my children. Please press the like button. Let me know in the comments what kind of walking tours you'd like to see. What topics do you want me to cover? And have a nice day. If it's morning in your country, have a nice evening if it is evening. And the main thing, glory to Ukraine. Slava Ukraini! Glory to Ukraine! Героям слава! Glory to the heroes! Thank you for watching this. Thank you for supporting Ukraine. I'm super grateful that you do this. It's obvious that without so much of international support, it would be impossible for us to stand against such a monster as Russia. But there is still a lot of work to be done. We in Ukraine, we pay the biggest price for this. We are paying with our lives, with our blood. This is what we are paying for freedom, for democracy, for the right to live in the free world. I love you. Goodbye.